Thank you, Chimlin, and welcome to the Abuja studios. I have in the studio Dike Chukwumerije, a poet, and he's going to be talking to us about unity and development in Nigeria. Thank you for joining us, Dike.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, so apparently you made waves with the poem you did at the National Economic Summit.
Yeah.
Tell us why. Let me use your words, for instance. You started by borrowing the words of another poet, made popular by Chukwumerije. Things Fall Apart. Yeah. Why did you choose to start from there?
I thought it was a perfect jump-off point to sort of look at what's sort of happening in the country today, where there is so many questions about unity. Should we be together? Should we break up? And all the agitations for secession and restructuring, which really for me is all sort of a search for identity and meaning and purpose as a people. So that's the power of poems. They capture in a few words, what an academic would write in pages and pages of books. And so when you have that expression, things fall apart and the center cannot hold, I think it captures very perfectly what could happen if we continue along this trajectory.
But don't we have an identity?
I think it's a contested one. We don't yet have a supranational identity. We have many sort of subnational identities that are very strong and well established, rooted in history. But the Nigerian identity, because it's relatively new, is not yet strong enough. So if you imagine them as characters in a boxing ring, so you have these very well developed fighters in the ring, Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, and you have the Nigerian identity that is sort of emaciated and weak, and it needs training and it needs feeding and it needs, so there's an identity there, but it's not strong enough to assert itself against other competing identities.
But why do you think these other identities are so strong? I mean, the voices are so loud, all the ethnic identities, the religious identities, sometimes even the social and political identities. Yeah. So why are they so strong, so much stronger than the national identity? Is it that the national identity was never there? Yeah. Or is it that it's not been, concretized?
Yes, I like that expression. It's not been concretized, it's not been well articulated. And I think more importantly, it's not been able to offer purpose and meaning and welfare and succor to people. Because these identities are held onto, not so much as out of a love of culture. For instance, you can have somebody who is notionally Igbo, but he was born in Lagos, grew up in Lagos, has never lived in the East all his life. So that when he claims the Igbo identity, it's not necessarily out of love, but out of political necessity. They need to survive in the system as it is, because that identity offers him access to certain things. By claiming that identity, he can get a ministerial slot in the Federal Executive Council. His children can get into school. That identity offers very tangible socioeconomic benefits. And the Nigerian identity doesn't yet offer concrete socioeconomic benefits to the Nigerian citizen. What do you get simply by being a Nigerian citizen in Nigeria? Not very much. But what do I get by being from the southeast, by being Igbo? A lot. So it's a rational decision. So when the Nigerian state begins to make the Nigerian identity attractive, people would want to have it. There's a part of it that is pure irrational choice. I'm not saying that there's no genuine love for culture, but a lot of it has to do with very simple, rational decisions.
But don't you think that we might get to that point where there's a conflict of interest, where the love for culture, the love for that other ethnic, religious, and whatever identity there is, don't you think there'll come a point where there'll be that clash, and that might be another problem?
Yeah, I definitely, there'll always be conflict when you have multiple identities in a room. And just like in a marriage, it's not so much as the absence of conflict as the mechanisms for resolving those conflicts. So it's also about building healthier mechanisms for resolving ethno-religious conflicts. We don't always have to resolve them violently. We can talk, we can find a way. So it's not really, I'm not really agitating for sort of a monolithic identity, but sort of a space where there is greater tolerance, and at least we have a center that we can all, we can go into our separate room, but we have somewhere where we can also gather in peace. There's an expression I like to say that what is mine, but what is ours is ours. So there's a collective identity. There can be a sectarian identity, and they can coexist.
That collective identity is sometimes very evident. I mean, in the world of sports, football, for instance, when we go outside the shores of the country as individuals, we tend to come together to remember that we're Nigerians. So how is it that we're able to unite when we're outside or when we're on the football field? But when we are now sitting here, we can't seem to. What is that problem? I
think you need leadership to raise the sight of people, to raise it. It's how you express it. Like I said, the Nigerian identity is in need of articulators, of people that would. You want to be proud. If we're honest with ourselves, sometimes one of the things that makes me sad is when I have children, and what is it that makes you proud as a Nigerian in the global community, So if you have things that sort of articulate things that make us proud, and I say this all the time, sports is a good vehicle, is a good jump off point, because it makes the points that we're trying to make politically, that because we want to win gold on the field of sports, we don't care where somebody comes from. If he can play football, we put him on the team. Now, I often say, is the World Cup more important than the education of our children, than the health of our children, than, things like that, than safety on the road? Is it more important? So why would we put together a meritocratic national team to win the World Cup? And yet we'll put together a meritocratic national team to get a better life for our children. Why? You never get on a plane and start asking, is it only Yoruba people that fly this plane? Why doesn't an Igbo pilot fly this plane? Nobody does that, because you want to get to where you're going safely. Yet we would put our education, we'll put our healthcare system, we'll put our roads, we'll put in, subject to the considerations of, okay, you will do your turn, then I'll do. What does that have to do with anything? I always say that, personally, I'd rather that every Nigerian has a shot, for instance, at a good education, than that every ethnic group has a shot at producing the Minister of Education. Because I personally don't want to be the Minister of Education. What I want is education. But we have a system that is configured to rotate positions among ethnic groups rather than to distribute the benefits of good governance to people. So I think it's about leadership and being able to articulate these things. I honestly feel that the conflict of identities are at the heart of the Nigerian problem.